Hi guys, the crew is here. My co-hosts Eddie and Rudi are behind me. So let's talk about Iceland again. I've said it many times. That volcano is always good for a surprise. So we've been watching it. The land has been steadily rising again underneath Svartsengi, where we have the Blue Lagoon and the power plant. So everything looked like normal. Land is rising again, magma chambers filling up again. So we will see the next eruption soon. They said probably mid-November is when we need to expect the next eruption, between mid-November and end November. But you know, I've just released a video that it's been rumbling all over Iceland in higher magnitudes, which was a little bit strange. It hasn't been rumbling too much around the Sundhnúkur crater series and along that 15-kilometer long magma dike that has formed almost a year ago on November 10th in 2023. That magma dike, and that's important for what I'm talking about now, is 15 kilometers long, a magma intrusion. So means the magma was moving away from the magma chamber but didn't make it to the surface, wasn't able to break the caprock layer that keeps the lid on, but was forming that dike, that underground tunnel. It was grinding it. That's why there were so many earthquakes a year ago that did severe damage to Grindavik, opened these cracks, tilted the homes, cracked the walls. And so now something unusual has just happened today. It seems we have seen an earthquake swarm at the Sundhnúkur crater series. And usually, right? If the magma chamber has a certain amount of magma in it and the curve is going up to levels that it had before the last eruption started, we have to be a little bit on the cautious side. And you see the graph here. This is where we are right now. We are a little bit higher because the graph hasn't been updated for about a week. So an earthquake swarm at the Sundhnúkur crater series definitely could mean something, but we haven't seen an eruption. So what happened? The Icelandic Meteorological Office has released an interesting update today, and that's why I'm making this video. I want to tell you this. So there was this earthquake swarm, and then they have looked at the data. What about the land rise? What's happening there? Is there any land subsidence that could give us an indication that magma was moving? Because even if it's only an intrusion and magma is not breaking to the surface, if the magma chamber is losing material, the land might subside. It's like you blow up a balloon and then you let some air out. It gets smaller, so it could be possible to measure that the land rise slows down. It doesn't need to subside if it's only a little bit of magma. But they say no signs of deformation or pressure changes were seen. And you might ask, pressure changes? Where are pressure changes? So underneath Svartsengi, where that magma chamber is located, there is not only the Blue Lagoon, that famous tourist attraction that uses the warm water that comes from a geothermal power plant, the Svartsengi power plant. So they have boreholes. Of course, a geothermal power plant, you have to drill to get the heat. So these boreholes are a good indication for them to measure pressure changes, because before something is happening, the pressure is changing. But they say first, no changes in the GPS meters, in the land rise or anything, but also not in the boreholes of the company that operates the power plant. They are called HS Orku. So nothing indicates that there could be a magma flow, no obvious signs. And so we're wondering, we're asking ourselves, what was this? So the location of the earthquakes is similar or in similar areas as they showed up at the beginning of the last eruption, when the last magma flow happened from the magma chamber into the actual eruption site. And look at this map here. So there you basically see this red line, and this is basically along the magma tunnel that has formed on November 10th that goes from the Sundhnúkur crater series underneath Grindavik and then into the sea. And at the very north tip, you see that thicker red line. This is where we've seen the last eruption. And the gray covered area, that is the lava carpet that we have seen from the last eruption. And it has flowed way further north, and they are expecting that the next eruption will be north again. That's good for Grindavik, and that's good for the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon, so that their defense walls there will not be threatened again. So then you look at that dike and you see the earthquakes. So they still say, although they haven't seen anything in their instruments, this seismic activity still possibly indicates that maybe only a small amount of magma was moving out of the magma chamber. And we've had this before with this volcano, that it was surprising us in March when we were waiting for the next eruption, and then it basically just did a little bit, a small magma intrusion, and then land started rising again right after, or continued to rise, and then we saw a larger eruption roughly 2 weeks later. You see it here in the graph where that intrusion happened. So did something like this happen again? So that, even if it's a small amount, could delay the start date of the upcoming eruption a little bit. So maybe not mid-November, maybe rather towards the end of November, early December. Well, we don't know, right? But since this little earthquake swarm happened overnight, now it's quiet again. So they haven't recorded any new earthquakes since then. And the magma accumulation under Svartsengi is steadily continuing, so there are no changes. And last night between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., the Met Office says there was a series of small earthquakes between Sillingerfell and Stora Skogfell. And let's have a look at the map so that you really understand where that is. So have a look at that map. So you see on the very left side, that little blue lake, that's the Blue Lagoon, that's the Svartsengi power plant. And underneath that area, this is where the magma is accumulating. And from there, if there's too much pressure in the magma chamber, it is flowing out along that red line, that magma dike that has formed on November 10th. And now this earthquake swarm has happened between Stora Skogfell and Sillingerfell. You see all these dots. The larger the dot, the larger the earthquake. And basically we have seen eruptions in this area before. So in that area, that is definitely an area, if we see an eruption there, that is not such a good area when it comes to lava flows. That could flow towards the Svartsengi area again and threaten the defense walls there. And it could also flow towards Grindavik from there, especially since they expect that the next eruption will be bigger than the last one. And the last one was already bigger, and a lot of lava did flow. And so if we have a bigger lava flow and a longer time period of lava flowing, it builds up along the defense walls and eventually has the possibility to breach the defense walls. And that's valid for Grindavik and for Svartsengi. So this is where the earthquakes were, in an area where we definitely know that volcano has been active, the vents has been ruptured. Magma always is looking for the way of least resistance. So if it can, it will use the existing tunnels and the existing pathways towards the surface. That's like a mine. If you have like a coal mine or whatever, you have your underground tunnels. Of course, you use those tunnels. You don't grind new ones all the time. And that's what the magma is doing. This magma is kind of like a miner. And once the magma is on its way, of course, it's rumbling, right? If you have a water pipe and all of a sudden you increase the pressure in that pipe and you let the water flow, you feel it vibrating. You feel that there's something flowing through that pipe. And that's the same with these highways, these tunnels that the magma is using. So Sillingerfell and Stora Skogfell, ideally it would be good if we could see the next eruption starting a little bit further north, not too far north, because then it would threaten the major highway between the Keflavik airport and the capital, Reykjavik. Then the lava could flow over that road, and they don't really have an alternative to that road. They have been talking about this, and they even want to build another airport and parking lot in that area, and they have made expensive studies that have shown, well, all that would be destroyed by lava, high chances of being destroyed by lava. You see it in the maps behind me. So something definitely happened between 2 and 3 a.m. local time. There were more than 20 earthquakes that happened there of around magnitude 1 and below magnitude 1. So don't be fooled that this is not significant, because with these volcanic eruptions, we won't barely see a 5, 6, or even 4s. When the original dike was formed, yeah, we saw higher earthquakes because it had to grind a new tunnel. But through the existing tunnels, it can flow quite smoothly. It doesn't need to rumble and build new tunnels that much. So that's why if there's a cluster of earthquakes, that's always an indication that something could be on the move. And these earthquakes were measured at a depth of 3 to 6 kilometers. So that kind of makes sense. That magma chamber is estimated to be at a depth of roughly 4.5 kilometers underneath Svartsengi. So it makes sense that if magma flows out there, that it's at the same depth probably. And again, these same earthquakes, the location of these earthquakes is the same location where we've seen earthquakes before the last eruption started. So doesn't mean that this is the location where the eruption will happen. Didn't happen there last time. It was further north, but it is an indication something's probably flowing into that magma dike, into the eruption area, and then wherever it's weak enough, it could reach the surface. And over the past year, whenever we had an eruption, we've seen basically the earthquake clusters in that area, because that's the access point to the highway, to the magma intrusion basically. It was only a short-lived period of earthquakes, and after 4 a.m. local time, no more earthquakes have been recorded. So it's pretty quiet now. And as you see within that gray area on that map, right? These long red lines, these are the fissures that have opened and given out these eruptions since November 10th, since we've seen the eruptions start in December. November 10th was an intrusion, and then December the eruptions started. So these are all the lines, these are all the fissures. There's more fissures towards Grindavik. One has basically opened within Grindavik, or at the edge of Grindavik, but this is the main area where we have seen the most fissures opening, and these dark red lines are these fissures from the past eruptions, basically from December 2023 until now. And the red line that you see very far north, that's the part of the fissure that was active the longest during the last eruption. So the other fissures, they started to die down. They didn't send out any lava anymore. But at the northern tip, that was sending out lava the longest. And the gray lava carpet, that is what the last eruption has done. That started on August 22nd and lasted till September 5th. So usually in the past year, when magma started flowing from Svartsengi into the Sundhnúkur crater series, there were signs, deformation on the GPS meters, and also the fiber optic cables were showing some pressure changes, or the pressure changes in the boreholes, but nothing this time. So the Met Office gives us one possible explanation for this last night's seismic activity. And what they're saying is basically that the magma movements basically have stopped before an actual real flow has occurred. So maybe there was pressure and it was trying to send out something, but it wasn't really pushing out a lot. It was just a little teeny little bit, because there was absolutely no change in that magma accumulation underneath Svartsengi that they could measure. So, but according to the Icelandic Met Office response plans, when that earthquake swarm started, they did notify the civil defense. That's what they do, because you have to be on alert. You might not have much time. Less than half an hour, or even less than that, or nothing. That's what this volcano has done in the past. So civil defense was notified. Met Office said that they're assessing whether a magma flow had begun or not. And then as they didn't find any further signs of a magma flow, they had decided that they would not take any further measures tonight. So that was a quick update. Guys, check out my other videos. And if you like, become a member of my channel. If you are a silver level member, thanks to my silver level members for your support. It's absolutely awesome. And thanks for my basic support members for being a member of my channel. It's so greatly appreciated. And yeah, if you're not a member yet, maybe you want to become a member, click the join button if you can see it underneath this video, or click the link in the description of this video. And guys, thanks so much for buying me the coffees on my buymeacoffee.com website. The link is in the description as well. Keeps me going. I already had 2 coffees today, and maybe those guys need one. They're pretty sleepy there. So I don't know, guys. Sometimes with certain people, if I watch them on television, they have these voices. I fall asleep. I can really sleep well. And it seems these guys, when I'm telling a story, they fall asleep, but that's okay. So thanks, guys. I hope you're all safe, and more news to come very soon. So stay tuned. If you're new here, you should subscribe and join our great and a little bit crazy community of volcano lovers, earthquake followers, and all the other stuff that's happening around the world. We're on the pulse of the earth with me, with Silky, and my 2 co-hosts. So check out the videos here in the end screen, and I see you very soon, guys. Bye bye.